Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Sackdown. Today we have Fnatic's jungler Razork with us. He decided to join us even though he's going through an allergic meltdown with his cat. First question is not going to be related to League. The first question is going to be, you say you're allergic to cats. Why do you own a cat?
I mean, the reason is I did not know I was allergic to cats until
Okay.
I had her for like 2 years. Like when she was young, I was actually fine. I wasn't getting the reaction. But lately, when I'm going to Berlin, it's fine. But the 2 months that I'm here in Spain, it's painful.
Is it worth it?
I mean, I do not touch her, and I try to not let her come to my room. Otherwise, I actually can't breathe at all. But
Oh damn!
I mean, it's part of family, you know. So I just tank it and try to take pills and stuff. And yeah,
I feel like
Such
there
a
was another
jungle
angle
thing.
we could have made this all like some type of Fnatic joke, him being like allergic to, like the championship, but like that's neither here nor there.
it's too early. Too early.
Oh, too early in the episode? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I
too
just
early.
Warming up a bit, you know.
this is how I am. I've met Razork now for 5 minutes, and I'm just insulting him. I'm just a piece of shit. But let's talk about your career, Razork, because going into your career, you actually played with somebody who was an original SAC/Tribe member. Febi, he's a long-term friend of mine, and you guys were kind of a combo in the mid jungle. It seemed like you guys were really the engine of the team when you joined LEC. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that time. Like, what were you learning during that split? It seemed like you were just this really hype mechanical jungler from solo queue. You obviously played in Spanish League, so talk to us about your introduction to LEC and joining that Misfits team.
Well, actually, the Misfit story with Febi was kind of crazy because he was not, in theory, not gonna be the main mid laner, right? It was Ronaldo who was gonna be the main mid laner. But Febi had his experience and some tricks, and the moment we joined, he started talking to me a lot, and we were playing a lot of duo queue because it was early in the season, so we could play duo queue. And I don't know, we just became like very close together. And the moment like he was getting maybe like 2 games of scrims, and Ronaldo was getting like 4. The 2 games that he was playing, he was like always very vocal and very tryhard, and he was like, yeah, demanding way more than Ronaldo. So he started to get more and more games in the scrims, and I don't know why, but he ended up becoming the main mid laner. And me and him, we were very close. We were like watching TV shows together, and like when people ask me who is the teammate that you enjoyed playing the most, I think Febi comes to my mind for sure. I had a great time in Giants too. I had Denik and Antonio, Deadly and stuff, but I think for sure Febi was the piece that helped me so much understanding how the LEC culture works, because I feel like when I was coming from ERLs, I was just a kid and I was used to being in like gaming house and do whatever I want, and we were also winning in Giants. That was the crazy part. We were just 5 kids having fun and we were winning titles. And then in LEC was a bit more different, and I think I just had the support of Febi and Denik. So I think we did pretty good. I had really rough 2 games in the LEC. In Misfits, I completely ran it down. I remember with Jarvan, I could not even hit IQ. And afterwards, we won 7 games in a row, and we won against the dream team of G2 with Caps ADC. So it was pretty wild experience for me.
Okay. Something, just a little side note, because we have this topic, that keeps re-emerging in terms of, because you mentioned it's like Febiven stood out to you as a teammate that was one of the nicest ones that you played with. In terms of how you evaluate like vibes, in terms of how much that has an impact on you, in terms of how well you mesh with teammates, how would you like describe like a teammate that you bond with well? Like, the reason it's a trending topic is because, like Kazi mentioned, that a tryout is better to go out drinking with a player than playing with a player, because you find out more about them. What is your definition of like a good teammate, and what are you looking for in teammates?
I mean, of course, there is the talent part and in-game. Like, of course, you want someone that it's good at the game and is like motivated and looking to improve. But for me as a person, I like when people are like easy to have fun with. Like they have good humor, you know. Because I'm a person that likes when I'm happy. Usually, I like to make a lot of jokes and to create good vibes. And if I have someone that's like not talking or very shy, it's not like I don't like them, but it's just way harder to create a bond with them, in my opinion. And I feel like whenever I have like a bond with someone that's my teammate, I tend to be less irritated at them in game. Like if for example I'm really good friends with Oscar, then he calls me for a top dive, and it's the worst call I ever seen in my entire life. I might be like not that tilted, you know, if I have good relationship with him. But if I am like whatever, I don't like him, or it's like yeah he's my teammate, then I would be completely triggered and I would just be mad for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's important to like be close to your teammates and do stuff outside of the game and stuff.
What's your response to being triggered in game? Because like you can be triggered in game, it can manifest in multiple different ways. So, like as a jungler, you know, I get triggered in game too. You've got what, like the passive aggressive approach. You could just make like comments. Some people completely shut down. They stop talking completely in the game. Some people are actually really angry. How do you get triggered when you're in a game? Like what is your version of being triggered in like a scrim, for example?
I mean, usually I tend to be like very sarcastic. Like I will put the example of Oscar. I would say, "Holy
Okay.
shit, Oscar, that was a great call, man," or like
Perfect. The
or
passive aggressive
something.
approach. I'm the
Yeah,
same way.
yeah.
I like that right there. I like that.
But
No, keep on going. Keep on going.
no. But I actually like refocus really fast. That's something that I learned throughout my career, to not let like one or two mistakes affect the rest of the game. So I can be like very passive aggressive, and that's like a way for me to relieve all the anger that I have, and I can focus on the next one. But I think that it can like make Oscar angry or not feel great, that comment, you know. So it's not something good, but it's just like
Yeah.
I need to work on it, I guess.
But I mean, but they deserve it because they made the call. You know, like they ruined the game, so you know they need to understand
True.
and internalize that that was their mistake, so that they don't do it in the future. You're conditioning them towards greatness. It's perfect. Yamato, do you have Yamato, do you have any of your favorites? Did you have any moments where players were triggered? Do you have any like things that jump into your mind where you're like, man, this guy was such a fucker whenever he was mad?
Oh. Like, you know, the worst ones are the subtle ones, you know, the ones that like passively and just turn quiet and quietly like ruin the game, and they want the game to go fast. You know, I like the person that I'm thinking of is Razor's current teammate. Humanoid was definitely like a master of the silent protest.
Protesting.
he was very good at. You had to really pay attention to notice when he was doing like the silent protest. It's like he had this process. It's like he gives you a chance. He explains this topic. If you don't do it the second time, third time, then he will silently protest. I don't know if it's the case anymore. Maybe
I
you
think
can shine a light on it.
He changed to the now. He probably says like we do a 2v2 mid and we die. He's like GG. Or like FF. But I don't think he means it. You know, it's like just the way that it relieves him. You know, like he has to say that in order to not get Omega triggered. But he says it sometimes in a fun way, and you know, okay, game is still winnable. But when he say, fucking FF, then you know it's over. You know, then we just FF the script.
It's funny how it like works always, because it's like when you ask this question, Dom, it's always depending on the group. Because like in some teams, you have players that are like insanely toxic by other standards, but no one cares. then it doesn't really matter. It's like it's just a question of like finding like a balance. Like if you know your teammate is going to keep playing bad after he says, fuck me, man, GG, FF, and he's gonna still keep playing and no one is affected, then does it really matter? It's kind of like the tree falling in the forest type of thing, you know, but everyone kind of knows it did in a weird way.
If your AD carry doesn't sleep before scrims and then says Shibal and then doesn't say another word for the rest of the scrim set, and then your jungler becomes a streamer, like, did it actually affect anyone? Like, was it actually a good thing? Like, who knows? Who the fuck knows?
I don't know if Razork is aware. Maybe we loop him in. This was a Piglet story, Razork. Piglet and Dom.
I have trauma from being a jungler.
Yes, trauma.
Yeah, I have trauma. You will too. Don't worry. Like, I can see it
What
forming.
happened?
Like,
This is gonna be a long episode.
It's a long. It's okay. Then I will just watch the episode. Send me the link.
Oh man,
sounds good.
So
I think go ahead, Dom.
I want to talk a little bit more seriously about you and Humanoid, and because you've played with him for such a long time now, and this has always been a point of criticism from the community. People have always been like, why is Razork playing with Humanoid? They play like different styles. Like you're like an aggressive player in kind of a different way than Humanoid. Humanoid was thriving a lot in side lane and stuff before. And whenever like there's an interaction mid that fails, it seems like people are like, and that's why like they shouldn't be on the team. They just don't have any synergy together. Do you have any have you seen this sentiment? Have you felt like people are overly critical of you and Humanoid? Do you think it's accurate to some degree? How do you feel about this whole situation?
I mean, we do meme a lot about it. Like me and Marek, we say like, oh, if we had better synergy, we wouldn't lose this game or something like that. But
okay.
I mean, I partly agree with it that we didn't have the best synergy the first years. Like I think when I joined Fnatic, I was kind of lost on the map. So I did not have synergy with Humanoid because he's a player that really likes to play like macro game and everything that his teammates do, they need to have a reason behind it. He doesn't like when someone is like not knowing what to do on the map for like 10-20 seconds. He just doesn't like it. And I was just more on the side of Healy-san when I joined Fnatic. I was just like, oh, my biggest strength as a player is just having good mechanics and skirmishes and stuff. So Healy-san was providing a lot of that. So that's why I think our team clashed a little bit in scrims because Marek and Healy-san had different ideas on how the game should be played. And I think the year after I had to like learn a lot because we had this rough start, I think, and the things were not looking great. So I just like started to understand Marek more and more, and I think right now our synergy is pretty decent. Like there are some moments, obviously, that we are like not on the same page, but I think that happens to everyone. Every mid jungle duo, every support jungle, like there are some moments that you just don't think the same because you are not perfect. But I think I learned a lot with Marek, and I would say like our synergy is pretty good. I don't think it's bad.
I wanted to bring this question to you because so a point that I've had to defend often is that like after working with Marek and also you, I always said publicly, Marek is very, very smart about the game. Macro-wise, is super, super smart. And then always it's something that comes up after some of the rough series where you guys like through mid to late game, then it's like the meme that comes out is like, oh, Marek, macro genius. It doesn't show at all. Like, why are they playing like headless chickens? In regards to this point, what can you add to the topic of how Marek contributes and how he views like the macro game, and what were some of the shortcomings in some of these series that you guys managed to drop in stages where you guys were very, very far ahead in gold in those games?
I mean, I would say that he can be as smart as he wants, but he always makes mistakes. He's a human being. He makes mistakes also, and I mean, also the reasons why we are throwing leads is not always about the macro, because you can have a call, but each one of the players that's in the game, they have to be thinking what's their individual job. And if someone fails at that, like maybe delaying your recall or not being in the right place, then the whole call that you made is completely useless, and you have to adapt. So I think maybe there are some moments that Marek made a wrong call, and we ended up like doing a bad fight or losing gold. But there are some other moments that we just like didn't play good individually, or like me, I also make calls, in mid game. It's not like Marek always does it, but I'm more like on the side of suggesting calls, and then if no one says anything, then we are all going for that. Unless if I say it something very confident, if I'm playing by and I'm saying I'm going, there is no other call, right? Like I'm just going. If you don't follow me, I'm gonna die. So these type of calls, I feel like I'm kind of confident on that. But when we are talking about, okay, which lane do we play around? Are we going through bot, through mid? Do we give this Drake? We go for T to top, or whatever. This kind of calls, like it's more on Marek. I'm more suggesting, and then he usually gets like the most efficient call on the game.
Okay.
I was gonna ask you about communication because normally the breakdown that I see between teams is like the jungler will lead the majority of the early game, and then as you go like mid to late game, your mid or AD carry, the people that are stronger in the game will start taking over from there. Did Fnatic operate like that for the most part, where you're directing most of the early game, and then as the game goes on, you are making less of like the definitive calls?
I mean, I am vocal all the game. Like I'm not non-stop talking, and unless I feel like someone is taking over, and that usually happens when Marek is really fed. I think this year, I mean, Noah wasn't very vocal when he was like strong, and I think Oscar also doesn't really communicate as much when he has like a lot of gold advantage. So when Marek was getting really ahead, I was just like being there. If I'm playing Sejuani or whatever, I'm just doing my job, being in front. And if I see an angle, I will just go. But I had to like call a lot, I feel like, because we had a team that we were always playing around like Marek, as you could see. It wasn't very hard to like see from the game. Me and June, we were all the time going through Marek lane, and we had Oscar on the weak side, and Noah was just like waiting for us to move to his lane. So yeah, the communication was on June, me, and Marek mostly throughout the game.
Yeah, it brings me back to an episode we had with BB, like maybe a couple months ago at this point, where he said like one of the biggest evolutions for players is like knowing how to carry the game, but like obviously not in a literal sense. Like he meant more about how do you incorporate all your teammates in your plan so that they will just help you win the game. Like you can tell them exactly what they need to do so that you can pretty much like take over and just like win the game through a person. And he was saying that like Hans does this really well. He can do this well. Caps can do this well, but Yike was not at the level where he could do it well yet. Like he would be able to get really strong. He'd be able to make good plays individually, but it was hard for him to incorporate everyone else into his plan. Like tell people like, okay, I'm gonna win this game, but I need you guys to do this, this, and this in order to make sure that I'm able to like maximize my champion strength. So, what I mean, this is more to Yamato. This is just like a comment here, but I kind of felt like this is what Razork is describing. Like some players need to go through that extra evolution to become great players. Like you have good players that are able to play the game individually well, but like the great players are the ones that are able to bridge those leads into victories. You track the same thing, Yamato? How do you feel about this description?
No, definitely. I think such a big part. I think it even ties into the previous episode with Mickey, right? I think a very big part of like knowing how to drive games is the conversation out of game too. It's like for the ideas to make sense in game, they need to make sense outside of game too, in terms of review and in terms of the demands that you set. And I imagine from your side, Razork, that this is in terms of Oscarinin, he's still a very, very young player, right? In terms of his growth, like joining Fnatic as your big org. common topic that we also bring up, me and Dom, is the part of being like having to suffer in order to become better. Do you think, in terms of the evolution that you expect coming into next year, for example, Oscarinin, who signed, is this something that you believe he can do? Do you think he can turn into a leader, or will you guys remain a similar kind of structure in terms of how you play? Because obviously, it's like, I think Oscarinin is very, very talented, but what is the next step for him and the players that maybe took a backseat in this year?
Well, I mean, I cannot really answer that question right now. I need to see when we play with the new group how communication will go and stuff. But for sure, I feel like Oscar is very talented. He kind of reminds me of me back when I was in Misfits. Like he's just more on instincts and mechanics. But he also has a different role, so he feels more like abandoned. And he really likes to be strong and like when people put resources on him, but he just needs to work more on the communication side. And I think also knowledge too, in terms of like if you know what you do, what you have to do to carry a game, and you are like playing like a final or like a really important game, no matter if you're the most shy person or you don't feel like talking, you would say it, right? Because you really want to win. So I feel like the knowledge part is also important, and I feel like he can do it. He can learn. He also improved a lot, in my opinion. But yeah, as you said, he's very young and he has a lot of years or like a lot of time to realize what can he become and the beast he can become on the top lane if he keeps working on and he goes in the right path.
Something of like to tie that into your personal growth. It's like we are very close, right? And we stay in touch in an esports way. You know, the occasional message back and forth. But I wanted to ask you, in regards to your own personal experience. I think there were basically two pivotal moments, right? It's like Misfits moving into Fnatic, and then the evolution that occurred in Fnatic after I think 2023 winter, spring, and then of course summer. In terms of you looking back at these experiences, you turning from, let's say, a small brother on the team, a younger brother on the team, into the big brother of the team in a sense. How do you reflect on this experience and your own personal growth? And what is some advice that you would have given yourself if you look back at some of the moments of your own career in these pivotal moments in the past years?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I feel like when I joined Fnatic, I was just in a group of players that all of them were like insanely good, and I was just coming to Fnatic because I had like very good year in Misfits and I showed that I had talent. So I was just trying to learn as much as I could with the Wunder Healy Upset Marek team. And I feel like that year I wasn't having the best time, as you know, Yamato. So I had a lot of obstacles in my way, so I could not really improve. But I feel like the next year, when we were really fucked and we started losing and things weren't going the greatest, then I felt like I had no option but to keep like going, and I felt like my team was kind of giving up too early because we had still chances to like make playoffs and stuff. If I'm not mistaken, it was the reckless the reckless moments when we got him, and
Yeah.
and I just feel like people were not really feeling it that we could win, so I just had to step up and be more like the leader or like the people that or the guy that loses hope the last, you know. And I felt like that kind of kept people motivated, and it came naturally out of me. So it was just in me, but I didn't know I had it. So after that, I just like kept doing it forever. Like I don't know. It's just like I started learning way more, and I was just like all the time just making calls, and because in that time no one was making calls, right? So even if I was wrong, I wouldn't give a fuck, because it's either I make a call and it's wrong, or we are playing a solo queue game, right? It was at that point that we were completely trolling. So I just kept like making bad calls until I was just improving, and the
Yeah.
team was also getting motivated. And I think since there, I just kept doing the same, and all my knowledge got bigger and bigger. So right now I'm smarter, and I am usually not trolling, because like before I was just like able to carry the games, and when I was put in a position that I had a goal lead and I had a carry champion, I will just carry team fights and find good angles. But I just realized that this game in competitive, there's very little windows that you have to shine and be a superhero. You just need to play standard and do good things as a team. And yeah, the ahead you are, the lower risk you have to take in the game. And I think I improved a lot on that. So
Yeah.
that's how I became the Razork I'm today. And I'm gonna blow my nose because I can't fucking breathe. Sorry.
Go ahead, man. Go
Ah,
ahead.
yeah.
First
Sorry.
nose blowing on the sack down. Love
Boom.
to see it. We gotta first. When you were talking, it goes back to what Yamato mentioned earlier. So something that we always talk about on the sack down is how players need to suffer in order to grow and become better. Like there's certain players that have played with like the silver spoon in their mouth the entire time. They were, they joined a really good team at the beginning of their career, so they were always winning. And I feel like in that way, it kind of stifles growth. That's what we always say. Examples of this would be like maybe like Pays and Genji, where he's like, just been winning since he joined, and obviously he's had bad moments. But another example we always use is Yike. And what I think you're describing here is like when you were on this shitty version of Fnatic, probably the worst team that you had been on when you guys weren't even like making like top 8 and stuff. This was like the moment where you actually were able to become the best player that or like as good as you are now. This is the moment that drove so much of your success, because you're able to look back at those moments, and when you're actually playing on a team that's shit, it feels like it really makes you like look at yourself and analyze every little thing you do and find like the windows. So do you feel like suffering and like, but like obviously just meaning being on a team, being in the struggle, do you think that is like an important part for players, or do you think it's not necessarily necessary for teams?
For
Players?
sure. I think it's really important that if you're a pro player, that you actually lose games, and like how you react to losses, it defines a lot of how you be of how how much you are as a player and how hungry you are to win, right? Because like there are some people that if you are used to win and you like lose so many games, you can just get depressed and give up.
Yep.
But if you really want to win and you are like, okay, we are not in a good position, and you try like everything that you can, like you reflect on yourself and try to uh, make the team better individually, but not all individually. You talk to all your players outside of the game, you force meetings, you do one-on-ones with them, and try to care about them. I think that's what like makes you improve so much, not as a player but as a teammate. And I feel like if you are in a team, if you are a better teammate, you have just extremely high chance to have a good team. No, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's why I chose not to ever win the LCS, is because I just wanted to keep on improving. I wanted to always just be a better version of myself.
I see.
I'm that type of person. I'm not selfish where I just care about the titles and the accolades. I just want to grow while we're here on this planet. So that was something that
Yeah,
I
I
kept.
mean, you have 0 titles, right?
0 titles. Yep.
Same as me, bro.
In this call, we have 0 titles.
Yep.
Well,
Think about how much better we are now than those guys that got titles and then gave up. We're still in esports. We're still here. We're still on the grind. We're still
I
motivated.
have 1 Superliga, by the way. 1 Superliga. Let's fucking go.
Let's go, brother.
I won I won the Curse Invitational, bro. I won a fucking domestic LAN in season 2. Let's fucking go. BTSM and COG.
Nice.
Let's go.
Nice,
Holy fuck.
nice. Okay, for
Um,
going that far back, then I won a couple too. Some
So
good
we are all
fights.
losers.
Yeah. So we're all losers, and that's why we wanted to talk to you. Um,
Oh my
yeah.
god.
And
On a
it-
serious note, like, how do you mentally deal with like the second places? Because it must be frustrating at some point that like people are considering you the best jungler in LEC. Almost everyone you talk to will be like, "Oh, Razork's like so good right now." But you obviously want to have that title, and it feels like every time that you lost finals, it was like for a different reason. So how do you like mentally deal with the second places? Because it feels like G2 is just obviously such a hard team to beat domestically, and it seems very hard to kind of find a through line, like the reason that you're losing changes. So how do you handle the defeats?
I mean, they are not easy. Even I mean, this year was really tough. Trying to handle that because as I feel like I'm very emotional player, and we had like very emotional team. So we all really wanted to win, and we got so fucking close many times. But what I do is just like after losing a final or yeah something like that, I just go to my house, be depressed for like a few days, and then I don't know why, but I just like have motivation again because there are actually one final that I was very confident that we were gonna win this year, and it
Mm.
was the final after we won against G2.
it
Like
was
we
the
Yeah,
won
summer
against
playoffs.
G2,
yeah, the
the
summer one.
3-1. Yeah, the summer one. I was like very confident, and I was like sending motivational messages to the group of Discord that we have with the team. Guys, like I'm so fucking confident we have them. This is ours and stuff. And I was actually very fucking sad that we lost that one. But like I didn't have time to be depressed because there were season finals like in 2 weeks we had season finals, so I was like, if the team see me depressed and not motivated, then I feel like the vibes were gonna be off. So I just took like 1 or 2 days to reflect myself and to yeah ignite the fire again, and we kept going. We went to the final again, and then we lost, and then I had a lot of time to
You can be
realize, okay,
depressed for
yeah, and then I was depressed, but I didn't have also so much time because then we had Worlds, and then
Mhm.
after Worlds I had so much time to like be mega sad and like yeah be angry at all the things that I could have done different and yeah these kind of things.
In a world where, for me personally, it's like not the finals, but when we lost against Rogue, I feel like that summer
Oh
split
yeah,
was so easy to win. And it's
it
like,
was.
this one really haunts me in a very particular way. And you mentioned that you were like giga confident you're gonna win like here in the summer playoffs. Was this the most painful one, or is there a specific one that stands out? Because if I remember correctly, this was also like you came in confident. It was a 3-0. Is this just the most painful one, or is there any other one that stands out as a more painful one?
For sure, this one was the most painful one because I was very confident. I even told my brother, "Come to Berlin, we are gonna win it 100%." And then we got 3-0, and all the games we were really ahead. So it was really painful. But also the one that against Rogue was a hard one because if I am not wrong, we were stomping both Rogue and G2 in scrims like mega hard for the last 2 weeks. And yeah, we stomped Rogue the first game also with Marek,
Yeah.
Montats, and Silas. And yeah, I felt like there is no way we lose that. But I don't know. I also remember Hillisan flashing ultimate with Lulu,
the
engaging
engage.
with Lulu. Yeah, the
Yep.
engage. After I see that one, I was like, oh shit, maybe we lose.
I respected it a lot. I respected it a lot. Like I saw that flash. Was that a misclick? Because I
No,
think
no, 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 no.
oh okay. He was
He
trying to go for
flashed
it.
ult himself for a knock up, yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
mean,
It's a mechanic. It's
it's a
our
mechanic.
flash.
No.
Yeah.
I just remember the situation. It was like never going to work. So like I assumed that he misclicked like when he flashed forward. But okay, no, I mean it's respectable the flash forward.
Yeah.
To talk about like the finals in summer, I assume that one also probably feels the worst because all the games when you throw a game on stage, it's not like the players have a different interpretation than the fans. It's not like the players are like, oh man, it feels like so. How did we lose? It's normally like, oh shit, this game was this was a free fucking win, and we just trolled. And having that happen multiple times in a row, I feel like that's probably the thing that's the most haunting because most of the games, from what I see from like you guys and what people say in scrims, it seems like you guys close games pretty easily in scrims, that you guys win a high percentage of your scrims. You seem like a solid team. So in a scrim, you're almost never losing those games. The ones where you're 5-6K up, you're probably almost never losing those games. And you guys know how to play out those positions. I mean, most of the time, it's like, it's pretty basic. Like, you're just playing around
Yep.
Soul, you're playing around Baron once you're strong enough to actually tank it and turn or whatever. So I feel like that's probably the issue is like when you look at those games, you know how winnable it is. That's what hurts the most. When you get stomped in a final, it's like embarrassing. That's happened to me. I've been stomped in a final and it's like embarrassing, but it almost doesn't feel as bad because you're like, damn, they were just like way better than us. Like it's very
Yep.
easy to rationalize in your head. But yeah, I mean, you've had definitely had these finals that were close, and I think that's something that it's just hard. It's hard to get through. I was going to ask you about your team and the vibes around it because it seems like you make it seem like you guys were decently close or that there were decent vibes within the team. But one thing the community was kind of like after was like, oh, this team is just like they're too different. People would look at Legends in action. They would see interactions between like Noah Jun or like the coaching staff, or Noah would seem like really depressed on Twitter, and people would look at that and be like, oh my god, like this team is never going to function. They have like multiple different personalities, people pulling in different directions, etc. Do you think that this was kind of like an overreaction? Was the team actually vibing pretty well, or was there like a rift that caused for the change?
I mean, I think the vibe in the team outside of the game was very good. Like, I think we all had fun with each other, and we were doing many team activities and stuff. We were also going dinner together a lot. But I think the main problem was that people in the team were not dealing with the losses as a team. Like they were dealing with the losses as individuals probably, and like everyone kind of reached a different conclusion. Like, okay, this game we lost because Oscar troll, or this game we lost because the early game was disgusting and I got out jungle, for example, And I feel like it was important that we talk more about the insight and what are our plans. And I think we had these talks like 2 or 3 times a year, and they were very beneficial. But in the end, it was just helping for like 2 3 days, and when we lose again, it was like not very good. Like we were not only going mental boom when we lose in stage, we were actually going mental boom in scrims too. Like there are some days that we are like, okay, we have to cancel the next day because screaming right now it's more harmful than not screaming. And then we that day we just like do it for talks and solo queue and like to realize what was going on. Because if we just play and everyone was like mad and stuff, it was like really not good to play games. I'm pretty sure this happens in every team, that sometimes it's just better to like take 1 hour 2 hours to fix the issue than just spamming games. And yeah, I think we had that issue in this team for few moments of the year, and I think we had to like fix it. We tried to fix it, but I think we were just putting bandages in the end because it wasn't really. We were not able to fully fix it. Maybe it's because of different personalities, culture diff. We have two Spanish, two Korean, and two Czech, counting the coaching stuff. So it was like, yeah, not the easiest group to work with. inside of the game.
As a follow up, Ivan, in the context of what you're mentioning, I think that like watching Fnatic from the outside, it was always a question of, oh, regular season, they're looking good. These best of threes are looking solid. But when it approaches the end of a split, we're going to see the same issues reemerge. And then it's like, and then it was on repeat. It's like, oh, spring split begins. They're looking good in the beginning. They're looking solid, very competitive. This is some good draft ideas, very good gameplay. In terms of addressing the looming pressure, do you think that there were issues that just came up during high pressure situations that made it tougher to address in real time? Or was it something that, as you mentioned in practice, was it just something that was constant? Was it more tied to things being closer to playoffs? Or could these challenges occur already in the beginning of, let's say, like the best of ones that you played at the beginning of a split?
No, I think you're right. I think the problems came when we were close to a final or to an important moment. We also had this issue before we went to the hotel in Worlds. I feel like people were a bit burned out on the office, and when we were screaming against, for example, NA in the office, it didn't feel like we were at Worlds. And yeah, this was like a bit of a different vibe. But then when we went to the hotel, the scream environment changed and the try hard mindset came in. But I think answering your question, I think it comes more to the pressure point that I feel when we play in official games and when we are about to play official games, we play scrims, and if the scrims are not going good, or like for example we go 1-4 against, I don't know, SK in scrims, and then we're about to play like a really important BO5, then I feel like the confidence can be not the greatest, and people can come to the game with a different mindset than if we had a good week. I think Noah was very the profile that if we had a good week, he would go to the official match with like insane confidence, and he will like try to outplay enemies and play really good mechanically. But if we had a really bad week of practice, then he will be like, oh, I'm not gonna be the carry. I will just play like 6, or like I will just be on an island playing and be useful, you know.
Okay. As a follow up, I think from outside, I imagine it was frustrating for you guys too. You know, as we mentioned, like the haunting loss in summer and so forth. I think that beating G2, of course, is a very difficult task, and it's just a matter of how like the games played out. I think is always something that was kept in everyone's mind. But a comment that always occurred, and something that I also mentioned myself, is that it always seemed from outside that this is a group of very strong individual players, but it was very hard to see the growth of this team in terms of some of the things that you guys tried to put in place to help the team progress and to help the team make better. Could you clarify on some of the things that the team did to actually try to address some of the issues that, of course, in the end were too tough to overcome in a way that would be like satisfactory?
Well, I mean, I think there are some moments in the year that we knew that we had some set plays that we wanted to do in mid game, but we were just not able to do them properly. So, for example, Marek was like, "Okay, let's just not do it because it's not working out, and we're just losing more than we are getting." And we were trying to like do it because we had to make this plays, right, if we want to win against better teams. But he was more on the side of, okay, we should just play how we are playing, play team fights, and that's how we are winning games. Even though he agreed that we were not gonna be able to win against G2 or internationally if we don't do this plays. So we had a lot of meetings trying to do that because I felt like we were very impatient, and we were also very slow learners in terms of it took for us like 1 month or more than 1 month to learn one basic rotation. So it was like really hard. I mean, it was not that we were not able to learn it because everyone knew what we had to do. But when a situation occurred in game, then people were not able to adapt to some details and stuff. And that's something that, in my opinion, you cannot teach because there are so many scenarios in League that you just need to adapt and see what's good. You just need to understand the game itself. So I think we just try to put bandages all over the year on these rotations, and I think people, yeah, we were not very patient too. There are some players that didn't really. It's not like they lost hope of learning, but they were just not trying as hard because they didn't see people acknowledging. That's how you say it.
Mhm.
Acknowledging the information that coaches or some other players were giving to them, and I think that's kind of it. Yeah.
I as to wrap up on this topic in my mind, I think it sounds as if you guys were more so in survival mode, less so than like a mode to kind of progress. Kind of similar to what we went through in like 2022. Like we also had to cancel a lot of scrims, and I think our playoff run, it was very like exhausting, and then like the Worlds run was also like giga exhausting, right, with all the COVID and all the business. So it wasn't like a question of us necessarily like getting better or improving. It was more about let's just make sure that everyone is healthy, stays sane, and everyone's okay, and try to like perform as good as we can with what we have, as you mentioned, like band-aid solutions. In
Say only
regards
towards
to
the end though.
yeah, it's
Only
like
towards the end, yeah.
okay. So this was you mean 2022 or you mean this
Oh,
the,
this year we were putting bandages, but I feel like we were starting to do that after like summer finals or like even a bit earlier. Like we felt like we were not gonna progress much as a team. We could learn some things, but we were just trying to play our own style and not really move from it because we were not confident that we were gonna be able to learn it in that period of time because all the things that we learned in the past were taking us so long to actually put them in play. So I think we were just yeah, if the meta shifted, we just have to adapt to what we had in mind before,
Mhm.
and then just try to copy it. That's why what I mean, like we were putting bandages on like the meta, and if there are some champions that shifted, for example, there was a lot of mid laners that were ADE with the AP junglers, then it suddenly changed everything. So we were trying to adapt, but we just had a style in mind of like playing around Marek and all these things, and maybe with some other champions, like if was playing a Kali or I don't know, I can even say like in MSI when he was playing Kassadin, or it was the EWC when he was playing Kassadin, we were just completely lost, if we didn't have Marek to play around.
Yeah.
okay. It's football season, which means nothing to me, but I know what it means to Dom. He gets to watch his Miami Dolphin lose over and over again. He has his watch parties, he brings his food, brings his chips and his own tears. But while doing so, he makes sure to smell good. And that is, of course, with the Mando whole body deodorant. The Mando whole body deodorant, clinically proven, 72-hour odor control for the people that go on long benders or just sitting in your chair perma, or if you're going to long parties, you got that under control for 72 hours, which is crazy. You gotta stop the odor before it even starts. You need to prepare yourself for any situation when you leave the house. And of course, it comes in many, many different formats. You have the invisible spray, the solid stick, and the invisible cream. I go through my day smelling like Mount Fuji. Dom, tell him how you smell like.
I'm also a Mount Fuji enjoyer as well. I use a solid stick deodorant, and it's something that I've been using for a long period of time. It's not an overly powerful smell, which is why I like it. You know, I'm not the type of person that likes the deodorant to be super forward. It's something that will smell good when you smell it, but the whole point is so that you just do not smell at all. So I really like the Mount Fuji scent. I'll probably try some other ones, but for right now, I guess Yamato and I both smell like a mountain.
Yeah, that's perfect. You know, you just know if you are close friends with Dom and you're getting up close and personal, if you smell Mount Fuji, you know you're close to him then. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for all the new customers to just secure some last-minute Christmas gifts for your homies. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like a mini body wash or some deodorant wipes, and of course, free shipping. Luckily, we have a discount code to help you get hooked on our favorite smelling whole body deodorant. Of course, you can smell like us, Mount Fuji, on the market. New customers get $5 off the starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% of your starter pack. Use code TSD at shopmando.com. That is SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Don't let the BO keep you on the bench. Smell better naked with Mando. And sorry, Dom. I just wanted the question I wanted to point to with what I mentioned was I guess like I think a concern to tie into to the core that is you and Humanoid is that you know that there's the common trend, the reoccurring issue in regards to watching Fnatic and the core largely remaining the same, right? With you, Oscarinin, and Humanoid confirmed for the next year. We don't need to say more than that. Do you have fears that the same problems that you couldn't deal with this year are going to reoccur? Because I think that's something that is, of course, in the back of everyone's mind when they look at the conversation. Oh, Razork and Humanoid, very, very insanely talented players, but now they've been together for so long. Will the same things just reoccur because they have, you know, not managed to solve those problems in their years together?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that there are some things that are gonna reoccur, but at the same time, I played with Marek for a long time. I think he's a really hard person to read. Like his personality is hard to read, and I feel like now that I have so much experience with him, I can understand him more, and all the things that are happening that are problematic, I think we can fix them quickly or quicker, me and him. Like I had many fights with him because we don't understand or we don't see one play the same, and I'm not the type of person of like saying, "Oh yeah, you're right," just because I don't want to argue more, right? So I just keep arguing and until I understand. And I think lately we are more together, and he's willing to like drop his ego to understand me, and I am doing the same. So I feel like if we had some problems, I don't think it comes from me and him as a duo. It's like more like a team things or like team environment. And I think the problems that we had or that we are gonna have, because I'm pretty sure it will happen again, that we are gonna go to a discussion. I think we are gonna be able to handle it way easier.
I wanted to expand on the bandages topic that you brought up earlier, because I feel like this has a really negative connotation when it comes to the West. People are like, oh, if you're putting a bandage on something, it means that you're really not good, and like the bandage at some point is going to, you know, the idea is the bandage is going to come off at some point, and then like the wound will be exposed and you'll end up losing. But when I've talked to, like, for example, coaches from LPL, and when I watch Worlds, for example, it seems like the best teams in the world will be constantly putting bandages on aspects of their gameplay, right? Like you'll see T1, for example, be forcing metas that are not necessarily the meta or the best thing possible, but they're like, this is what we're good at, and we're going to like stick to our guns. 2023 Worlds, I think this really stood out when they were bringing back the Ashe support, and they were playing things like you know, like Callista Varus, for example. They're throwing things that they were really good at and that they were winning on, in a meta where it's not supposed to be good and just being like, hey, we're good enough at this. We like this covers enough of our weaknesses that we'd rather play this type of game. Do you think that there's like, do you think that there's validity in like being more willing to put on bandages and not viewing it as a bad thing? Or do you think that there's like certain things that you can't bandage? Like, for example, I think that concepts when it comes to macro, like understanding how to do a Baron, that's something you can't completely bandage. Like you can streamline it to some degree by the champions you pick, as opposed to like limiting the amount of options that you need to choose between when you're on a Baron. But that's something that I think is harder. But like in terms of bandaging, I've always heard this used as like a really negative thing in the West. Do you think that maybe people have the wrong mentality about bandaging things? Because if you take away what bandaging is, and you kind of phrase it differently, it's just kind of playing to your strengths, no?
Yeah, yeah. I don't see it as a negative thing. I feel like every team does put bandages in their weaknesses, and I think like doing that doesn't mean like you are exposing yourself. It's more like, yeah, like as you said, you are just playing to your strengths. And I mean, like one random example that comes to your mind, G2. I don't think G2 ever left Vi open against me or like Jankos or Vi players, and that's something that you don't have to be like a genius. You just know that Yike, without me talking to Yike, I know that Yike doesn't feel comfortable playing Vi. So if they can avoid playing Vi, they will just ban it against Vi players, right? If Vi is a strong champion. And I think that example is like putting a bandage on something, but I don't see it as a negative thing. It's like, okay, if Jack is not feeling comfortable, they just give him something else. And I don't see that as a negative thing, you know?
Okay. Yamato, you have any takes on what I said there about the whole bandaging topic? Because it seems like that always is a recurring theme, and I've heard it used mainly as a negative.
I think that I agree with the both of you for sure. I do think it's like it's something that comes up, like especially you reach certain points in the season where catching up on certain things would just be a detriment. It's like, let's say like 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, like switching up things, and it's like in order to increase your performance, you need to break down the things that are good in order to improve them. So usually it's like if you try to restructure everything and you try to, let's say, as Razork mentioned, you want to play AP and AD jungle and you have to restructure how you play. It's like you will suffer for a period with the risk of gaining something, and there's a right time to do that and a bad time to do that. It's like both me and Razork, we were part of the 2022 season, and there was the Lucian Nami Azir meme. It's like we kept picking that and kept playing that because first we were allowed to, but also we were really, really good at it, and we knew exactly how the games needed to like play out, and it was right down like our alley in terms of comfort. And I think so at a certain point in time, you need to understand that you should no longer risk what you have in order to gain something more, because you're just too late out and you are starting to bandage things because Urgot is OP now in the meta. We don't have zero practice on it. Let's ban it in this BO5 because we don't know anything about this fucking champ, and sometimes that's just how it is. I think it's just, as you guys mentioned, just committing to your strengths in a moment in time where you don't have time to adjust to new stimuli, so to speak.
I think the question then becomes, how early do you start bandaging things? Because you don't want to limit your growth and you don't want to limit like yourself too much, but it's always very difficult because in a team, how do you judge when you're not able to improve on something anymore, where it's like, oh, this is just a lost cause, we should just put our time into something else? Or like power through the tough times, because every time you're learning a new concept, there's going to be periods where it's like, all right, now we're fucking this up, and then there'll be 50 million problems. Like when you were mentioning earlier about the rotation, people are going to think about like, it took them 1 month. Like I can hear the viewer in my mind, like the person being like, it took them 1 month to learn a rotation. Like how dumb are they? But it's way more than just knowing like, oh, we walk from this lane to this lane. It's like the timer, like how you place the vision, like how many people need to be rotating, who goes in first. Like there's a bunch of steps that will change based on the champions that are in the game, right? So at what point in teams do you feel like, or like, is it just a team to team, a feel thing, or how do you know when it's time to like start band-aiding and limiting your playbook, so to speak, as opposed to trying to be good at everything?
Mm, I mean, I'm not sure. I think, of course, putting a lot of bandages on like draft, it does not help. Like if you have to permaban 2 champions because your team doesn't play it, I think you are putting yourself in position that is not great. And I will put the example that when we had the Reckless Rax roster, we were just not able to play a winning bot lane because back then it was a lot of the Ash support, Heimendinger
I'm a
support.
dinger, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was these kind of things, and it was like karma, just perma push bot and win through bot.
Yeah.
And we were just losing both sides of the matchup. So we were trying to fix it, but we didn't have any solution. Like it was just really hard because game was just lost by draft by default. There are some games that you remember we were playing like Shaya into Caitlyn or something like this, and we were just losing tower at minute 6, 7. It was like unplayable. And I think if you put bandages on that, you would just lose the game by default. But if you put bandages on like small things that are not that big, or like you know that they are your weakness, but I mean if they are your weakness, but for example, you know that one champion is mega broken and you don't want to play it because it's not your style. I think if you are a professional, you have to put the games that you need to learn it because it will influence your team. But if it's not that broken and you have an answer against it, I think it's fine to just like say, okay, I don't play this champion, and that's it, you know. And if you put bandages on like emotional situations for some people, like outside of the game, then I'm not as expert on that, but I think it happens in every team that you just don't do how to explain, like you just don't have the same mindset on everything, and then you just like say, okay, we cannot do this rotation, then it's just like shit, you know. If you cannot do a rotation, then you can't win a game. Like I don't know if I'm explaining myself. I'm kind of trolling the English a little bit, I think.
I think I understand what you mean, like about like limiting yourself in certain capacities. It's more about like you have to just understand where you can actually limit yourself as opposed to
Yeah, kind
where
of.
yeah, like where you can break through. Yamato, I thought you had something.
No, just I would add I guess at least in my experience it always kind of comes down to is it's like the measurement of yourself towards your competition. I think sometimes it's like you have to assess where you need to land in order to win contextually, and uh, I imagine with the current format, especially like it's probably not applicable to you, Ivan, because I feel like most of the time you guys are very comfortable qualifying through the top 8. But I know for a lot of the other teams, it's like they already have like they are already like in week 1, week 2, like you start 0-3, and all of a sudden you need to like rush to so-called band-aid things, and you need to make like very concrete commitments on things, because if you take like a wrong step there already it can be very very painful. And I feel like this format really lends itself to raising the pressure in such a way where you don't have that freedom to be like loose in the first couple of weeks to know that you're going to qualify. But I guess some changes to the ADC is coming. Something that we brushed on very like very fast. We mentioned the reverse, not the reverse sweep, but the loss, the 3-0, the one with. There was some of the craziest throws I have personally seen, and I think Dom has seen, and probably also Ivan has seen and been a part of. I wanted to ask is like, what was actually like happening internally? Like, well, what was going on? What was going so wrong in the games that you guys couldn't close out positions that I'm sure you look at and you're like, this is so easy. Like, what actually went down? What exploded?
I think I kind of forgot the second game, but I remember the first one and the last one. I remember the last one the most, and I think the first one. I mean, we kind of threw it, but it was the hardest game for us out of all of three. Like I think this was the game that okay, losing it wasn't like too bad because we had like I don't know like 3k gold lead or something like that, but they had also a very good scaling comp and stuff. It was just down to a team fight, and I think we kind of misunderstand each other in a natural call. But I think the third game, I don't know, man. Like that one was disgusting. Like me personally, in game, I was saying like, okay, guys, we cannot throw this, but we actually did throw it. Like we were so fucking ahead. We were like 8k, 9k ahead. I don't know. I don't remember. But
Yeah.
I
Well, the game where
actually
Caps like W'd into you guys on the mid wave.
I mean,
Even.
I
Yeah.
feel like this is what the third game, that was the one where it's like Noah got caught. He got caught. He got like Kais ulted on when he was playing
Yeah.
Ezreal. It was like 8-0, and then right after, like you're trying to like defend the line brush, and then you die as well, and then enemy team gets Baron, and at that point, like the game is actually thrown. That was
yeah,
that one.
it was that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the second game was the one where you didn't have Smite going to a Baron. I don't know if you remember this. You didn't have Smite going to a Baron, and Yike didn't have Flash, and you guys tried to do a Baron because I think so. This is the
Oh
game where Cap
yeah.
just like suicided mid, right? Like he just accidentally
Yeah.
W's into the whole team. He just
Oh, I
suicides
remember.
mid. And you guys completely push them out, but because you don't have Smite, it seems like the team like panics, and you guys are like trying to,
We
go
lost
for the wall.
4v5, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
lost
this is when
4v5, yeah.
Ornn like Malphite ults 3 people like 3 times with the
Oh,
combo.
this is so painful to
I'm
remind.
sorry.
Yeah,
we are so
we just gotta
sorry.
make you relive your trauma. That's the goal of this episode.
no.
Wait, bro, we are preparing for next year. You are going through the pain again. You're getting better real
I just
time.
wanna- I just want to
Jake
say
was Cider, right? The second game,
Y-
he didn't have flash.
Yeah,
you were
Zyra.
Zyra and he was Brand.
Oh yeah, I know he was like a no
A
dash
mage.
champion that he
Mhm.
couldn't jump. I was calling for sure like okay we can go Nas, but I think we started panicking. I don't know if someone was in the banana boost behind the red buff and we were calling for turn, and yeah things happened. Then they just get Nas. And the third game, I remember that we were making some mistakes, but we were still so fucking ahead. And then
Mhm.
there is a play that's before the throw that is I stun Caps under tower. We take T2, and after that I'm like, okay, I'm pretty confident that this one is unthrowable. And 15 seconds after, Noah dies, and I went for the hero play because I felt like if I don't chunk them there, they were gonna get Nas or something. So I went for the stun on the Naughty, I think it was.
Yep.
And then it was just like maybe even though they got Nas, the game was winnable, but I think we were just too fucking like sad that we were actually losing again the game. So in our minds we all felt like we are doing it again. And they had Ornn and good scaling champs, so it got into our minds, and it also G2 came back 2 games, so it was like a mix of everything. But after we lost Nas, I knew it was kind of fucked for us.
In retrospect, do you think you actually need to chunk them there as they walk through? Because like in my mind, I'm like, you have this insanely strong Renekton. Your Renekton's up like 5k gold. He's got Starax, Cleaver. I felt like if they actually do start Baron there, you guys can 3v5 them. You guys can take like a legitimate 3v5 fight. Did you even bother reviewing this game? Because normally it's the last game of the season. You don't even like spend time with your team afterwards. You just kind of
I
like
think I did review it, but it was a long time ago. I mean, I think there is just a 3v5 fight, like they will take it no matter what. Maybe we can solve it, and maybe they just kill Renekton and back off, or we just do a 1-for-1. But I don't know. I just felt like very confident on the stun, and normally I wouldn't miss it. So I mean, I just missed the stun, and then Mickey just flashed on me, this little rat, and I just died on FF.
Perfect. I just want to say for the record, we did this topic, we got off of it, and Yamato brought you back in. Yamato was like, no, we gotta know like specific, like frame by frame, like What happened
I'm
during
sorry.
this
I really
series?
feel like we covered what went inside of it. You know, like, we talked about the aftermath and
Yeah.
the preparation, but not the pain. Which brings me to the next point of pain. It's interesting because it's like from a results standpoint, I don't feel like Fnatic, like you guys did a bad job from a results standpoint. It's just how some things went down in game that is just so memorable. And looking back at MSI, I think now like people can look at Team Liquid as a very respectable team and so forth. And you guys had this like you played against Genji that same tournament, right? And I think in your series against Top Esports were competitive. Oscarinin had a good Camille game. I think he had a good tournament too, June as well. And then you had like the series against Genji, where obviously Genji was just the best team in the world at the time. But I felt like you guys were competitive in terms of how you contested side. You and June were syncing up together, and it felt like you guys had some gameplay. You had some gameplay.
And it was the closest 3-0 we've ever seen in the history of the game, according to some people on Twitter after the game. I'm just gonna throw that in there. All right.
No, the sentiment was that people were very, very hopeful, but then it's like always took such a massive turn. Looking back at Team Liquid, there was also like the Legends in Action episode where you guys also like shared a lot of intimate information about what went down backstage after the game. What is your reflection on MSI and the first international tournament of this year?
I mean, this was my first MSI, and honestly, it was a banger. I think going to China and stuff was mega fun. Tournament-wise, I was also having so much fun. I think the game against Top Esports, we could have won. It was pretty close, I would say. And the Genji games, I also felt like we could win. Like we were just playing good, even from the first game. I think it was just us completely trolling and them having way better understanding of how to play team fights and how to utilize their champs. So yeah, and then when it came to Team Liquid, I was mega sick that day. I was very, very, very dizzy. Uh, they even put me a bucket next to my PC because if I had to throw up or like I was
Okay.
even allowed to pause the game instantly and go to the toilet because the referees were they knew that I was very sick. And yeah, honestly, I completely ran it down that series, and it's on me because normally I'm more like shot calling and stuff, and I feel like all the early games were really shit, and the only game we won it was because Oscar had a really good performance with Poppy. But yeah, the other games I was just really really off. Like my Viego was awful, and my Shinho too. I was just like, I was seeing people on the minimap, or we were seeing them, but I was just not paying attention to it, because I was like very unfocused, and I was just getting caught and going too deep. So yeah, that was my bad. But I also feel like we got so much hate on Twitter. But I think Team Liquid was pretty decent team. Like they played pretty solid also. So
Yeah.
it's like it's the same to lose against NA and stuff, but I said it like before, and I hope this world shows also that NA is doing a way better job and they're improving slowly, and I think they are not. It's not a shame to lose to NA anymore, in my opinion. Like, I mean, depends which team, obviously, but
Yeah.
like FlyQuest did pretty good, and Team Liquid was also very strong.
Did you feel the same way when you played them again at EWC, because you got to have another experience playing against Team Liquid, and it seemed like Team Liquid just had like some strengths that Fnatic doesn't have when it comes to like macro that makes it hard for you guys?
No, I don't think so. I think we just had mental block against them in the EWC, and also the champs that we chose was completely disgusted in the EWC.
Mhm.
I mean, my Kha'Zix was just, yeah, I don't want to play Kha'Zix ever again. And Marek Kassadin wasn't the greatest too, in my opinion.
Well, you probably won't have to because they just nerfed it again on live. So you're
Kassadin?
good. Oh no, Kazakhs. They just nerfed it
Oh,
again on live.
fuck.
So you don't,
That's fine.
you won't have
That's
to
fine.
anytime soon.
Okay. So yeah, basically that's it. I think Team Liquid is a strong team, and I think the times we played against them, I was in the best condition, and in EWC, I think we were just in a really bad shape as a team.
Yeah. I think with the question I want to ask you now, I want to transition the conversation to coaching staff because this was a huge point that people were on. Because whenever a team is struggling to improve, people are putting that on the coaching staff because it seemed like the way that you guys played throughout most of the year was similar. You guys had good early games, but once it got down to like the macro, you guys weren't the best team at being able to play like mid to late game macro was. And yeah, like I said, whenever this becomes the case, the coaching staff gets a lot of blame for it because the idea is that that's what the coaches are for to teach the players macro. Obviously, I know it's not that easy, but as somebody who played under Nightshare for a while, what can you say are like the strengths and weaknesses that he brings to a team?
I think when he joined the team, he was like very, very energetic, and he made everyone listen to him, and he was like also very fun to listen. Like it's the type of person that you could be listening to him for a while and not get bored, right? Or lose focus. So I think his social skills are very on point. I feel like he tends to take care of the group, and I don't know how to say it. Like the part of like being the dad of the team, kind of make sure that no one's fighting with each other and stuff. And yeah, then in terms of knowledge, I think he also got a lot of knowledge from Marek, and he shares a lot the gameplay that they do. But I don't think he was on the knowledge point for the whole year. He was Gax was more the responsible for that, and the Nightshare work was just help the team, all the players take care of their mental issues if they wanna talk or something, and then prepare draft. And there are probably a bunch of more things that I'm missing, but yeah, that's the first two things that comes to my mind.
Something that Gax that came out, like he did, I believe, an interview. Like also, like Gax is a person that I have spoken to on occasion. He mentioned the like the information is there. You guys just couldn't figure out a way to make it stick. And I think the first initial translation that came out seemed like he was just like very angry and frustrated, but apparently it was like very, very mistranslated, and he was just more frustrated with the fact that information couldn't stick, and he put blame on himself and on the team that it couldn't translate. How would you describe like those challenges? I guess you tie it into what you mentioned before with the rotation, not settling in after a month. What do you think some of the challenges were in terms of not making some of those topics land, or why didn't these things translate for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I understand his frustration as a coach because, I mean, uh, probably I talked to him and he probably felt like he could have done more because that's kind of what the coach job is. But on the same side, I disagree. I think like there are some players or some like specific things that even though you tried many times to teach them, some person or some people they are just not able to like fully understand it or acknowledge it. And I feel like in our team it was more like that. Like we tried many different ways to teach things, but in reality we were just not understanding it. So we could do it for like 1 or 2 games, but then people were just forgetting it, or I don't know. It was like very weird. So
Yep.
I kind of feel like he was just uh very angry at himself and about the situation because he felt useless. You know what I mean? Like Like he couldn't
Like
fulfill
helpless.
what. Yeah. So that's kind of why I think he was feeling like that.
Yeah. It's
It
always
makes sense.
a test, man, because I feel like the hardest part of improvement, what I always say to people is like when you're in a team, you'll start improving on one thing and then you'll forget like what you were good at before. And then you'll be like, wait, what the fuck? Like now we don't know this anymore. Then you'll just constantly be trying to like pull in so many different directions that it feels kind of like arbitrary when the breakthroughs come through. At least in my experience, it feels like, oh shit, now we have a breakthrough. I guess now we like understand this concept. It's always very minor things that end up breaking through. So, for example, to talk about this more specifically, when we interviewed Spawn, we had Spawn on the sack down. One thing he talked about was how Team Liquid, they were really good laners, and in scrims they were dominating everyone when it came to just 1v1 and 2v2 laning. But on stage, they were just not able to ever win lane. And it took them so long to figure out that the reason that they weren't able to win lane is because they were all just playing like pussies on stage, and they just were afraid that they were going to get ganked by the enemy jungler all the time. So all they needed to do is have Umpty go into the enemy jungle and just locate the enemy jungle. As soon as they were able to find the enemy jungle and play without that fear of the jungler, suddenly everything was unlocked and they stomped all through spring. So it's always like that's just an example of things that you're talking about. It's very hard to pinpoint like what's going on, and it's always very small things that end up kind of breaking through from having a team that's bad at a concept to being much better, or not necessarily a concept, just an area of the game.
It is time to mention another sponsor of the Last Free Nation and also, of course, of the show. People think it might be the beard, it might be the voice, but no. It's all the fresh clothes I'm wearing. I'm currently wearing an Into the AM shirt with a nice wood cutter design here. I got the wood here and also the background. I really like the fabric. I have to point out, this t-shirt makes me look a little bit more jacked because it's a little bit more tight around the biceps and a little bit more loose where the stomach is. So it looks like I am got that V-taper, but in reality, I got that gamer dad body, high percent body fat. So I'm just keeping everything secret, but I'm telling you now my secrets so you can take part of them. Currently into the AM, with older stuff, there's currently a Black Friday deal. There's up to 60% off. You need to get in charge of your life, get in charge of your wardrobe, and upgrade it with, of course, Into the AM, the same that we've had, because we are lucky to have them as partners. They've sent us stuff. Dom, tell them, how can they take use of this discount?
Oh, you can make use of this discount in many ways. I have my Into the AM stuff. Unfortunately, my girlfriend keeps on stealing all my Into the AM clothing. She likes them the most. They fit well, and I would say the main part of the Into the AM wardrobe that I like the most is the feel of the material on your body. It just feels very light. It feels good when you're wearing it, and it's something that you're going to enjoy. You will notice that you feel lighter in the Into the AM clothes. So if you want to get Into the AM clothing as well, we have a code for you. You can shop Into the AM at intotheam.com using the code LFN. So intotheam.com/LFN in order to shop Into the AM and support the show. I wanted to ask more specifically about your own improvement as a player, because you're somebody who came into the league. Everyone said, "Oh, this guy's really good mechanics." I mean, I actually watch a decent amount of your solo queue games. Like when I like grind solo queue, I'm like, yeah, let me watch like Razork, get myself some motivation to play. And you're always at the top of the ladder. You're always like rank 1, rank 2. Like it seems like you grind with ease. And at the beginning of your career, you were pretty much all mechanics. At least that's how I viewed you. It seemed like you knew how to play fights, but you would get like lost, and some of the things you do didn't make sense. And you've been able to like over the years incorporate like really good decision making, especially early game, into like to play around your mechanical strength. So in terms of your improvement, like how were you able to make those changes? Is there any like defining moment where you were able to like become a better player? It was a very like slow, steady thing where you were just exposed to so much League of Legends, so many pro games where you were able to like grasp it. How did you improve so much?
I think the first point that made me reflect on my gameplay was because of Upset. The first year that I joined Fnatic, I think like we had many discussions and in reviews as a team, like because we were like making plays as a team, and I was like feeling the urge to do my camps, right? Like it's a jungle thing that's very typical. And I remember Herald was really broken back then, so I was just getting Herald and I was just going to my camps, but Upset was all the time telling, no, come, we have to take the tower and stuff. And I was like very angry because enemy jungle was taking my camps.
Mhm.
And I think this thing started to influence of how I view the game because I mean I was like against it in game, but then I just reflect on it and realize that he is right. And I think afterwards I showed the improvement that I made. It was the meta of Trundle Poppy, late in bait into dive and stuff. So I became more selfless in terms of like farming camps and taking resources, and I was just giving resources to somebody else, and they were actually very reliable carries. I think Upset was very reliable carry in terms of like, yeah, when he was getting steady, he was just 1v9 if he's ahead, either mark. So I think this was the first point that made me improve, and I think the other points were the point that I said before about
Yeah.
us just not being able to perform as a team and everyone feeling hopeless. So I kind of felt like I had to step up and do something for the team. And since there, I think it was more like slowly improvement and understanding things every day. Because usually when I'm playing scrims every day at night, I just before going to sleep, I reflect for like 5 minutes and see what did I learn in the game. And it's just like sometimes there is nothing, but sometimes there are like small things that can influence the way of how I see the game.
I wanted to ask as a follow-up to what Dom said. You were a big fan of Kanavi when we were together working together. Everyone was. There was like the JDG Kanavi. Like he was like the only one playing Vi back then, like diving top and doing crazy shit. In terms of like jungle is such a unique role because the solo queue experience is very different. I remember I always say, Ivan, please stop playing Zed. Like you're playing Zed only in solo queue, then at least play it in the scrim.
Yeah, I
And
was preparing it. I was preparing it against Syra, but didn't work out. We didn't pull it.
No, my question is like in terms of your methodology, right? It's like you're a grinder, you play a lot of games. In terms of like your process, is there any like added like nuanced details that you changed in terms of like your personal improvement? Like, do you review more of the pro games? Because that I think that was also something that we had to push you on back then in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not right now a fan of Canavi. I really like Canyon now.
Yeah,
uh, since it fits more my playstyle now. And yeah, I mean, I don't watch like insanely amount of bots, but what I try to do a lot is review my own scrims and the team scrims because usually every day that we play scrims, the coaches have like 2 or 3 bots that we review as a team, right? So I just focus on myself, and in the team I usually call like June or Mark, mostly in this year, to come to review with me because I really wanted to be on the same page with them because we were the engine
Engine.
engine,
engines, yeah.
yeah, we were the engine of the team, right? So I really wanted to us three to be on the same page. And with June it was a bit harder because he had sometimes in mind a play, but he wouldn't say it in comms. He would just go, and then like he is an enemy jungle on top side, and then I'm just farming red, and it looks a bit weird because then we want to dive top, right? And it's like, okay, I agree, your goal is better, but yeah, I cannot read your mind, right? Like if I don't see it, you should say it. So I was just trying to push him to feel more comfortable to make his own calls in the game, even though they are bad. No one's gonna like blame him. We will just like learn together. And That's kind of it. I don't know why did they talk about June, but I don't know what was the question in the beginning. I don't know why
No,
it
just
came to
no.
June.
It was very good. My question was just like what is the day-to-day things that you do to
Oh
push
yeah,
for
yeah,
Yeah.
improvement? But you spoke about it at great length. It's like you review with your teammates very closely. You focus on
yeah.
the scrims and you try to dissect as much as possible through the games that you play. So you covered it. It was good.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I was like so confused.
yeah. No, I mean that's how it goes on these shows. But I mean, I think that's the point, man. Like the question is more to just gain insight into your experience as a player and things that you've had to go through. So I think answering questions like that is completely fine. I've got to bring us to the Wukong incident because I've been somebody who's talked to Yamato for years now, and he's told stories about you. One of the stories he always tells in the sack is trying to get you to learn Wukong, and that when Wukong came out, he was like, "Yo, this champion is so broken." Like everyone was like, "Yo, you should play Wukong." And then you didn't want to play it. You didn't want to play it. You wanted to play like all these other champions. You were playing like Echo, like random bullshit. And 5 patches in, it got nerfed like over and over and over. And after it got nerfed like 5 times, you came to Yamato and you're like, now I want to play Wukong. Like then you wanted to start playing Wukong. So
Yeah.
is this a bias? Has Yamato been biased about this? Is this actually how it went down? I've heard the story so many times. I need to ask the source, the Wukong player himself.
I mean, it is partly true. I think.
Okay.
I mean, when Wukong was OP, I did not want to play it, but I was playing it, right? Because it was first pick. Like we were sometimes first picking it, but I
Mhm.
wasn't the best Wukong, so I was getting a bit triggered back then because I wasn't able to do as much as the other Wukongs were doing. So
Okay.
when other people were like, when Wukong got nerfed and other people started to play it less, then I don't know why I started to play it in solo queue. And whenever I like a champ and I play it in solo queue, I spam it a lot, and then I become very good. And yeah, then I went to Yamato after Wukong got nerfed like 3 times. His E on clear, and I say,
Yep.
hey, I think Wukong is really strong. That was the story.
Well, same happened with Talia. You remember the Talia thing too? It was like
Yeah, I
you're such a
remember.
good Talia jungle. It got nerfed, and then you came in and you say, "I want to play Talia. I think it's better now because it's worse mid, so it's better jungle." I'm like, Ivan, this doesn't
Yeah,
make sense, but I like Talia. That's okay. You can play it.
yeah. I mean, sometimes I'm a bit stubborn with some champions because it's like I just have a feeling, and I think Marek sometimes does the same. Like he's very like unique. Like Joey plays one champion, and he's like, "Holy shit, we have to first pick Corki." And like there is so many champions that we are telling him that they're OP, and he's like, no, they're fine. Then someone first pick it in OCK, like Aurora, for example. He didn't want to play Aurora, but the champion is completely broken. And then I think I have kind of the same mindset sometimes.
Humanoid was an interesting pickle because it's like every player has like their own little like I don't know their way of approaching champs. Like everyone's very like drastic. Like Humanoid was very peculiar because he would always come with like a very unique take sometimes, and you just had to kind of go along with it because he was so stuck to playing it. Like there were weeks where we would just play Kaiser mid every game, and we're like, I guess we're winning because Humanoid is really trying his ass off playing this champ. And if you went against that, it would be like you kind of had to let him do his own thing in a way. And
You would
sometimes
protest. You'd be like, "Hey, let's get a game of this," and then he would start protesting.
it would be like you have to kind of lead some players to water. You can't like force them to drink, and sometimes players need to learn like their own way because sometimes, at least with Humanoid, it was like if you tried to resist and push him in a direction, he would resist back, and it would just not work. Is Humanoid still this way, or do you feel like
With
now after all
champions,
these
yeah.
years you've cracked the code? Do you know how to like
Oh, with champions, he is
you
like
do
that, by the
Inception?
way.
With champions still the same?
Yeah. With champions, still the same. Like one day, he is like, I really feel like playing Silas, and this is the worst game I ever seen for Silas. Guys, pick me Silas. But I'm like, you can convince him like that this is the worst game for Silas, but he will still pick it, right? To prove a
Yeah.
point. And then maybe he does fine, and then or maybe he carries, and then you see why Silas is good. But in reality, it's not good. That there are so many other champions that they are good. But yeah,
So do you just accept it, or like after the game, are you like, oh no, I see why Silas is good, or do you just tell him like, hey, I still think it's like a terrible pick?
I mean, I do tell him. I mean, if he really carried, then I can say, okay, if you play like this in states, I don't mind if you go Silas. But then I go to the coach and stuff, and I say, hey, I think this is a mega shit Silas game. If this happens in states, we pick something else. And yeah, we agree. Then it's fine.
Nice.
This is such a European story, where every time people ask me, it's like, what's the difference of working in Korea, because I worked there for one split, right, in comparison to Europe? It's like, you don't need to do like these, like, you don't have to put up like a house of cards to get your way, It's like in Korea it was like, we're picking this, you're not playing this, the conversation was over. Here you have to do like a master plan so the player is comfortable in those moments, which is funny, it's very, very funny.
Yeah, you have to like gaslight the player into believing that the champion that you wanted them to play was actually their idea in the first place. Genius.
Yeah. Razork, do you remember this game? Because I also brought it up with Dom. This game where, we scrimmed the whole week banning GP, and then we are about to play against Vitality. Like we did like a bad job of like defending top dives, you remember? And then suddenly 5 players go against the plan of banning GP, and we give it against Alfari, and we get dove top. You remember when you played Xin Zhao?
I don't remember, but like I don't remember the whole situation, but
like hail top Twitch, you remember? Like
I know that something happened with GP and Alfari. That's the only thing I remember. I don't remember. It was really a long time ago, like 3 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. It's crazy. You've been in Fnatic now for so long. It was 3 years ago, and we ended up losing, but it was like a worthy investment because after that it's like, okay, maybe Yamato watched their games and he has a better opinion than I did that didn't watch the game. So it was.
So you gained respect.
It was a payoff. We need to rip up the last wound. Unless Dom, you had something on this topic.
No, I was just gonna say,
I wanted to bring up Worlds.
Oh, the last one. No, I was just gonna say that this is something that it seems like for you as like I feel like I know the stories better than the players at this point. Like I remember it's like the GP, like you said they were gonna ban it, then you presented the same thing after. It was like Kale, right? It was GP versus Kale, like some bullshit like this. Bro, I remember this story because I've just heard it so many times. Because Yamato is like the person where you have to understand this, like he will make sure the stories. Like he will tell them like multiple times, and you will gain appreciation for the story. And I personally like that. I like hearing the trauma. Like I bring up Piglet every day on my stream for 10 years now after I've been a player. Just because I'm still so traumatized. So I like hearing all the stories. So yeah, the Wukong 5 patches in, then you want to start playing it, the Talia the same way, the fucking GP Kale. Like I know so much about this.
Hey, you're leaking so much, Yamato. Stop leaking our stories,
these
man.
Are fun stories, man. These are fun
I'm
stories.
joking.
They don't know about the Yanko S silly jokes.
Oh yeah, C ups.
we had this dumb thing where like Razork would just change the names of players by just emphasizing either the first letter or the last letter, and me and Razork thought it was so funny, but I remember Upset hated it. He thought we were so stupid.
No, but it started because of Jankos, because he was calling me Razor K, and then I was calling him Janko S, because I don't know.
He calls Yike still to this day, because we did a couple the sack down with him. We also did a watch party. We just all co-streamed together, and he always calls Yike Yike. He says Yike every single time for Yike, and it's so jarring to me. I'm like, I didn't even know there was another way to say Yike. I thought everyone just said Yike as Yike, but yeah. That is a Yankos thing, man.
Yankos just wants to disrespect him because he took his spot on the team. Nah, I'm just kidding, of course.
Is there any part of jealousy? Is there any part of jealousy between you and Yike? Because like for me, I get like angry seeing Yike win like 7 titles. I'm like, bro, I feel like when it's all said and done, it's gonna be so hard to like argue. Because what I always think about is like in years when we talk about LEC, like let's say you win a title later on or you don't win a title. And I'm like, yo, Razork was like the fucking best jungler in 2024. And people will be like, what? Like, Yike won 4 fucking titles that year. What do you mean he's the best jungler? I feel like this is going to be a triggering point. Is there any
Yeah.
jealousy when it comes to like seeing people win titles where you're like, come on, bro? Like you're
I
just
mean,
on G2?
it's not like him winning titles. It's just me not winning titles. Like that's the only thing I care, right?
Okay.
And
So you're not as
I
spiteful
mean,
as I am. Perfect.
no, I mean, I know I get a lot of hate in Twitter, and I'm pretty sure he does the same. It's not like I'm promoting or he's promoting. It's just like my fan base and his fan base are probably fighting against each other a lot, and they create their own narrative. I don't know. Maybe they have fun with it. I really don't mind. But the 2 times that I think I spoke with Yike, I think he was a very cool guy, and I respect him. I think he's very good at his job, and I think the jungle position. Whenever they ask me, "Do you think you are the best jungler in Europe or something like that?" I think it really
Doesn't matter.
depends on so many things.
Okay.
And for me, there is a clear top 3. I think Jake, Eljoy, and me is top 3 in my opinion this year. And I mean, actually, I think Eljoya in the beginning of the year he was not that good, but towards the end he was very good. But I think it depends a lot on the meta, the team, and I think jungle is a position that there are so many like variables that you can look like a complete dog shit if you have bad team, you know.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
it's kind of like ADC, you know.
100%.
Yeah.
I agree.
No,
Jungles are
I
oppressed.
agree. You know, like the most extreme example, which is maybe the contrary, but like everyone, of course, remembers like Milky Way Spring Split. But in order for him to have the opportunity to do as well as he did, like his teammates need to play very specific champs, play for him specifically, because sometimes you're not going to have opportunities to carry as hard, while sometimes your job, it's like the variance of how easy it is to play games and how hard some games can be. Like there are certain games where if I teleported into the game and played jungle, probably that team could still win because maybe I just clear, show up on grubs and my mid and top is winning and I don't have to do shit. Just an easy game to play. And some games are definitely like a lot harder in terms of the conditions, but definitely I think jungle and AD are the ones that are the biggest victims of this. But at the same time, these are also like jungle is a role that carries a lot of responsibility that can turn their teammates into victims. So it's
Yep.
funny how it goes both ways. Now we have to bring up the World Championship. We have to. The World Championship kind of was, you know, I met you in person. You're telling me the scrims were going so good. You know, in the hotel room, you were excited to play. I believe Weibo was the coming game right after the top esports game. And I think the top esports game is the one that stands out the most in my mind. Like I think the top esports game and the Damwon game. The top esports game was such an eyesore because you guys had the Smolder draft and you guys were playing in a very, very rushed way, putting TPs in areas that weren't necessary, forcing dives and not really pressuring on the MF that had no sums. Was this just another moment of just the ghosts of the past haunting you guys in that moment? Because Top Esports was a team that you played against in the past too, or what went down in that game, and what was let's say the feedback in preparation for Weibo?
Why did you guys give Cream Yone? Why the fuck would you give Cream Yone? That's all I want to know, bro. Please, I was losing my fucking mind. I watched this guy for 3 years. He's the best. He's like a fucking insane Yone player. Please tell me, Razork.
Yeah, I mean, as you probably know, there was some drama in Twitter with the June thing, what he said in the interview stuff. I mean, we were probably not planning to leave June open, but I mean, we did a draft meeting, and we said we were gonna ban June, and then I don't know what happened. I don't know. I don't know if I remember exactly, but then we changed our mind, and then we said we were gonna leave June open because we had something prepared against him. That was the Smolder kinda that was working against us, and we thought that Joan was really strong as in the patch, but we thought that against some CC champions that we had, like this Leona Skarner, that he doesn't have a great time playing against. So we were going to that draft, and I think we also got that draft that we wanted, but I think we didn't execute anything at all. We were playing too rust. The MF should have died like 3 times, and we didn't punish once, and we were like playing to kill them. Like we were not playing them up. We were just playing to kill them. We were overcommitting TPs, dropping plates and stuff. So I feel like we just completely ran it down the game.
Yeah. I mean,
In my
my
opinion.
criticism of it was that I thought that you guys were like really delusional with who you guys were, because when I saw full scaling coming out and stuff like this, I'm like, aren't you guys the team that likes to fight all the time early? You guys get early leads, you have really good early plans, and seeing you guys play like full scaling and just watching how the game played out, I felt like it was not playing to your strengths at all as a team.
I mean, I don't think we went full scaling. Like, I think we had comfort champs, and I don't think Smolder is like a full scaling champion. I feel like he starts to be strong on one item. I mean, not as strong as Zone, but we were. I don't know why we went with that draft, and yeah, if we play, it's probably not our playstyle, right? But we also played Smolder before, and Marek was doing good with Smolder, so.
Yeah.
I
think
don't know what
the
Noah had actually. What Noah
He played
had as a
Jin. He played
Oh,
Jin,
yeah.
and then you had Kesante top.
Yeah, it wasn't the best draft now that I look at it on hindsight. I mean, we didn't have too much damage, you know, and we are
Yeah.
kind of full AD, but yeah, I think the core looks fine, you know, like the Scanner Leona Smolder against Zone, it's a great idea, but I think the other two have to be different champions, because I'm not also a big fan of like having the triple tank comp if you don't have like hyper carry on ADC. So that's kind of
Yeah.
idea.
Okay.
Was this like just to understand? Was this a coaching decision, or was it a humanoid decision, or was it just wake up,
Honestly, I don't know.
motherfuckers? We play
I
against
don't
you.
remember.
Okay.
I don't remember. Like I know for sure that I was in the draft meeting the day before, and we were saying, okay, we're gonna ban Joan. But I think we had like another meeting in the morning the day we were gonna play, but I don't know. I maybe space out on that one a little bit because I knew I was gonna play Scanner, you know. So I was not very like focused on that conversation probably, but I don't remember. So I'm not gonna say something I'm not 100% sure, you know.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Perfect.
The Weibo series was pretty straightforward, I would say. Like for game one, you guys got like the game back against Lucian, but any additional thoughts in regards to the World Championship? I guess the down one game was also like a very, very massive throw that felt like a Fnatic classic, borderline, you know, against down one.
I mean, against that one,
2v1ing. You guys were on Baron. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, against that one, we were extremely scared for no reason. Like, I was actually playing Syra, and I was telling my team, please walk up. Like, please go in. I was playing frontline Syra. Like, some fights that we started, it was because the enemies went for me, because I was posturing too aggressively, because I think we were respecting them too much. You know, it was the first game we play at Worlds, and it's the first time we play against someone. But I said before the game, they also have rookies. They are not gonna be as confident. So I really wanted to play like aggressive, and also their league was very shit for us. So that was really painful. I think we could have won against someone very easy. I mean, not very easy, but was pretty close. And I think we had a really rough game. And against Weibo, yeah, after the first game, I really thought we were gonna win. And afterwards, I think if I played better the Vi games, I think we could have 2-0 them, because June was engaging and I wasn't ready to follow up many times with Rel, or we were too afraid to do things. So if I were played more crispy or be more aggressive with Vi, I think we could have won, because we played Vi Ari and we didn't do a single like pick on them.
So something I wanted to ask you, because I remember that game. I believe it was the second game, right, where you guys were just sending like all ults on. Like I remember like the Rakan, and then like the Jax that cleaned you guys up. Something I wanted to ask you personally. There's sometimes a game state where it seems like you're pressured to do something. I remember there was another game in the regular season, I believe it was against G2, where there was like a pause on stage. It looked like you were like angry about something, and then it unpauses, and then on the first target you like Q in with Vi ult, and you just like full send it. It feels from outside there are moments where it seems like you're pressured to make things happen. Is this tied to how your teammates are, or is it a reaction to what the team, your teammates are doing in the game, or how do you reflect on that, or is it just not true at all, you think?
I think it really depends on the situation you tell me. I mean, for sure, there are moments that I'm just like off and I'm playing bad and I'm just running it down. But maybe there are some moments that the one that you tell me I can see to, like I just maybe felt like the play was good or the game was in a hard spot, even though it is not like true. And what was the other example you said?
Basically the Weibo versus Fnatic. I believe it was
Oh,
game
the
2.
all
You
ultis,
you
yeah.
ult on like Rakan, and then I think like Jax just like completely like aces you guys because you guys use
Yeah.
like full ults on Rakan.
Yeah, I think that's wrong because I think my ulti there was fine. I remember the exact situation. I think we just overcommitted throwing the Rumble ulti and the Mef ulti. I
Yeah.
think with just one of them was enough, or even not even one of them, we can just chunk the Rakan, and that's it. But yeah, I mean, I understand your question, and I think it depends a lot on the situation. Like
Okay. So
usually
this is
I
not
am.
that deep. It's just gameplay.
Yeah, it's just gameplay. Like usually, I'm also an engaged champion most of the times. Like it comes to my mind one game against G2 in the final. I think the first season final game that I just do like a random engage with Sejuani. That it is good, but I flash for some reason. It's just like maybe I feel too pressured to do something, and I need to be more like calm and think twice before going. But on hindsight, if I think twice, I think I might lose the opportunity, to like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like sometimes the moment I see something, I just want to go instantly because then I don't want to regret not taking that shot.
Mm. No, of course, of course, of course.
Sounds
Did
good.
you have
Sounds good to
something,
me.
Dom?
No, I'm good to go, bro. I feel like Razork is suffering with the allergies. Like,
Yeah,
Bro,
yeah.
I'm
I'm,
seeing.
I'm
I had like one
dude,
more thing
you want
to
to see
bring
all
up.
the paper? Look.
Yeah. Oh shit. I've been seeing it the whole time. I've been feeling bad. I'm like, do we end early?
Oh,
Like,
fuck. I'm dying, bro. You know
Shit.
that feeling when there's some water coming through your nose and you don't know what it is?
yeah. No, bro.
I
I know it
have this
all
all
too
the
well.
time.
Oh.
I know it all too well. All right. Well, I think we're
Wait.
not. Wait,
I
what do you
had
have,
one final
Yvonne?
thing, Dom. It sounded like you're rounding off, so that's why I
Yeah.
interrupted you. One final thing, because I think people are curious, and I guess I have to ask this in a very, very vague way. But Ivan, coming into 2025, in terms of what you expect the off season to be like, and coming into the next year, what are your expectations? Where do you think Fnatic lands competitively? What do you think of some of the changes that are happening to some of your main competitors? If I can if we can dissect your thoughts in regards to this off season, because personally, I'm very, very excited for what's to come.
I think we are gonna win everything. Honestly, I
Damn.
mean, I had the same feeling last year, and we got very fucking close. It reminds me of the Peaky Blinders reference. I got so fucking close. I think next season it's gonna be good season in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, for sure you're gonna win something at some point, right? Like there's no way that a jungler will just go through their entire career and never get to win a championship, and then retire and become a streamer or something like that. Like that would not
People
happen to you.
were memeing about me about being the Harry Kane. I didn't know who this guy was. It's like a footballer
Footballer.
or something like this that he
Yep.
didn't win anything. I think he won something this year. I'm not sure, but I think I heard that he won something. So now it's my turn.
So you have hope now because of Harry Kane,
Yeah,
a guy
yeah,
you
yeah,
had no idea like
I
who he was before they mentioned it. Perfect.
True,
Nice. Good to
true.
know.
Yeah.
love that.
All right. Well, that was the episode. That was Sack Down. This is number 18 with Razork. Thank you for joining us, Razork, even though you have been dying the entire episode.
Yeah,
It
I'm
is
fucking dying.
It is what it is, man. It is what it is. You're growing stronger from the cat allergies, bro. Soon you'll be done with it. But yeah, thank you for joining the episode. We appreciate you being here, and we will be back next week with another episode of the Sackdown.